Hello, everybody. Welcome to Phillies Extra, the baseball show from the Philadelphia Inquirer. I'm Scott Lauber, and I write about the Phillies and Major League Baseball. And whether you're watching us on the Inquirer live page at inquirer.com, YouTube, Facebook, or X, or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I want to thank you for spending a sliver of your week with us. So these are busy times in the Phillies universe. Just think about everything that's happened in the last month. Let's start in Atlanta on July 15th, when Kyle Schwarber literally decided the All-Star game and was named MVP by winning the first ever swing-off to break a tie after 9 innings. But even before that, actually, several Phillies players made headlines by lashing out against MLB for omitting Christopher Sanchez and Ranger Suarez from the National League roster, even though they both declined to pitch in the All-Star game. On July 20th, the Phillies signed 40-year-old reliever David Robertson, a midseason free agent, to a prorated one-year contract that'll pay him roughly $6 million and is projected to cost them an additional $12 million in luxury tax dollars. Commissioner Rob Manfred came to town on July 21st as part of his annual meeting with every team and was confronted by Bryce Harper over the issue of a salary cap in baseball. Billy Wagner and the late Dick Allen were inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame on July 27th, with Allen becoming the first player to go into the Hall with a Phillies cap on his plaque since Jim Bunning in 1996. At the trade deadline, the Phillies acquired star closer Joan Duran from the Twins and picked up outfielder Harrison Bader, also from the Twins. In separate trades, Duran has become an instant celebrity in Philadelphia when he debuted his cinematic bullpen entrance. If you've somehow missed it, stop what you're doing and Google it. Actually, you know what? Maybe wait till the end of the show and Google it then. Jimmy Rollins and Ed Wade were added to the Phillies Wall of Fame on August 1st, and more than 50 former players were in town for the team's annual alumni weekend. Oh, and Zach Wheeler, he's got a sore shoulder. The Phillies revealed that this week after an MRI. More on that coming up later on the show, I promise. And all of that is taking place against the backdrop of actual games in an NL East race between the Phillies and Mets that's going to be a photo finish, plus the ongoing debate about whether the Phillies should call up outfield prospect Justin Crawford, friend of the show, by the way, and what the heck is going on with Andrew Painter, their top prospect in AAA. Got all that? All right. So there's been no shortage of things to talk about here on Phillies Extra and to write about in the Inquirer. But amid all of that, my guest this week is former Phillies outfielder and broadcaster Gary Matthews. I wanted to invite Sarge, as he's known throughout the sport, onto the show to chat about his close friend and former teammate, late Hall of Famer Ryne Sandberg, because the tributes have been pouring in, and understandably so, since Sandberg died on July 28th at age 65 due to complications from prostate cancer. Now, Rhino rose to prominence in 1984 as the National League MVP for one of the best Cubs teams ever. And for a generation of baseball fans from Chicago, he was iconic. But his baseball story started right here in Philadelphia. The Phillies drafted him in 1978, developed him in their farm system, and brought him to the majors as a September call-up in 1981. After that season, he was literally a throw-in in a trade with the Cubs. As then Phillies president Bill Giles wrote in his memoir, quote, "We agreed that a straight-up swap of Ivan DeJesus for Larry Bowa wasn't fair because DeJesus was 7 years younger. Dallas Green wanted us to throw in a prospect, and he said he would take any one of 5 players, including a kid named Ryne Sandberg. The scouting report on Sandberg from our baseball people was that he couldn't hit well enough to play third and couldn't field well enough to play second. Even the Cubs had some of the same concerns we did, toying with the idea of converting him to a center fielder. History shows that we were wrong on Ryne Sandberg." Indeed, it was probably one of the most regrettable deals in Phillies history, if not the most. 29 years later, Sandberg came back to the Phillies to manage in AAA and later become a major league coach. Then he replaced Charlie Manuel as the manager in 2013. And if you talk to people with the Cubs and Phillies, or really anyone in baseball who knew Sandberg, they all say the same thing. He was a gentleman, all class. So I went back and I listened to Sandberg's Hall of Fame speech from his induction in 2005, and I think it captures everything about the man. I'll read a couple of lines. "The reason I'm here," they tell me, "is that I played the game a certain way, that I played the game the way it was supposed to be played. I don't know about that, but I do know this. I had too much respect for the game to play it any other way. And if there's a single reason I'm here today, it's because of one word: respect." Well, Gary Matthews knew Sandberg as well as anyone. They played together on one of the most iconic teams in Cubs history and stayed close over the years. And with Sarge in town for the Phillies alumni weekend, amid this relentless Phillies news cycle, I wanted to make sure to sit down with him and ask for some of his memories of one of the best second basemen in baseball history. Let's get to it then. Here's my sit down with the Sarge. Gary Matthews, Sarge, welcome to Phillies Extra from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Thank you so much for joining us and doing this in person. We usually do this, when I'm in one place and the guest is in the other, but it's great to see you. Cannot believe how long it's been.
Gosh.
It's been a few years, I think, since I've seen you, and you're here for Alumni Weekend. Tell us a little bit about, the last few days.
Well, actually, it's really been great to get a chance to see all of your, and I can say this definitively, your old teammates. And I mean, everybody is really a lot older, from Steve Carlton, obviously Manny Trio,
Schmitty.
I've seen Schmitty, of course, and Maddox, Larry Bohr, but it's always really great to come back and to see them. And before we even go on any further, the one thing that makes it even more special, when you have an owner like John Middleton, he goes over and above the duty. I thought the best owner I was ever with was Ted Turner, and he took care of me and my family big time. But I want to just say, John, and an avid, obviously, Philadelphia fan, wears it on his shoulder. I don't think he really sleeps until at the end of the season, that he takes it really, really personal. And honestly, for me, and I know the guys downstairs that are playing, they enjoy that. And I guarantee you, they would tell you, hey, that we've never had an owner like John, and he's doing everything he can. And personally, for me, I kind of think they're on their way.
So I wanted to invite you this week because A, you're here, and B, you're another former teammate of yours, Ryne Sandberg, passed away last week, and I want to talk to you a lot about him. But people should know that back in 2008, you and I used to sit almost every day and talk like this and look what I dug up.
Wow.
In a box in my office. You and I wrote this book called Phillies Confidential back together in 2008. It was kind of like a day-by-day account of that season. We did not know how that was going to turn out.
Right.
It turned out about as well as it could have for me and you. Why did we not go to Vegas and put it all down on red after we wrote this during the season and they went and won the World Series?
Well, Scott, we don't bet on baseball.
That's right.
You know that.
That's right.
And it was one of the things, how would you know when they haven't won? And then saying that, this Jimmy Rollins, I don't know how tall he is. He never really says.
He said the other day he's 5'7", right? That
okay,
they put him down at 5'9" on all the information, but that he's 5'7".
5'7" and plays like he's 6'7". That year he had there, sticks out in my mind. The way he played, and not so much the way that he played, is what he said. He said, we are the team to beat. He ruffled a lot of feathers, but guess what? He was there to back him up. That year he had 20 triples. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
To play shortstop, the defense that he did. And when I talk to that same club now with Utley and, Howard and the guys, they kind of admit, man, we should have probably won a lot more than just the one, at least two, and if not three.
Jimmy says it all the time. He said, my only regret is that we only won one.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And again, it reminds me of this club, which hasn't won yet. They have an opportunity to dominate. Why? They're in their prime, right? And they're all really good players.
Yeah.
I just wish that they could manufacture runs a little bit better. But hey, this is today's game. I've accepted that. I think it's, an honor to come out to see these guys play. It's their style of play. I mean, it's not all out like when Mays was playing and you're 100% going down the line. These guys hustle, but not in that particular way. But they win, and they're with a good group of people. And it's refreshing, really, to see.
Yeah, and you and I sat almost every day, and we talked about what we saw that day, and it was kind of a day-by-day accounting of the season. And I learned so much about the game from talking to you every day, almost every day, and just so much about what I know now about the game of baseball and about what goes into playing it every day. And look, I mean, for people who don't know, and I want to get the numbers right, I mean, because some people know you as a former Phillies broadcaster. Some people know you as a former hitting coach for multiple teams. The guy was a heck of a player. I want to get the numbers right. 281 career average, 364 on base, 439 slugging, 1,083 runs, 2,011 hits, 234 home runs, 978 RBIs. 183 stolen bases, Rookie of the Year in 1973, All-Star in 1979, and MVP of the NLCS, of course, in 83 here with the Phillies. And look, we could go through your career and we could talk about all the great players you played with. You batted behind Willie McCovey in San Francisco. You played with Schmitty and all those great Phillies guys here.
Hit in front of
Mike Schmidt. There you go. His And,
he protected me.
He protected you.
Best right-handed hitter I've ever had.
Bet you never got walked that year.
Oh, God almighty, I'm looking dead red, and I'm not going to be late. But he helped me out tremendously with the on-base percentage. But go ahead.
I would guess, though, that of all the great players you played with, you probably never played with someone who had the year that Ryne Sandberg had in 1984. When I talk about Ryne Sandberg, 84 Cubs, what comes to your mind?
Well, obviously, hitting against Suter in the game. That same game, I mean, even after he had hit the home run and tied it, I came up next and hit the ball off the wall for a double. But I still think, even if it had gone out of the ballpark, he still would have been remembered. And I remember, I think it was NBC that was doing the game. They were actually going off the air, and regrettably so, because what a great game and what launching really Ryno's career. Very, very special player, jokester, likes to have fun, more importantly, wanted to win. I can remember Little Joe Morgan. I always called him Little Joe. He came up to me and he said, "Hey, man, what do you think about this Sandberg kid? What do you think about him in the Hall of Fame?" And I said, "Excuse me? 10 silver bat, 10 gold gloves, silver bats, 9 or 10 of those." I said, "What do you want the guy to do? MVP?" I said, "Let me tell you, Joe." Well, I called him Little Joe. "Let me tell you, Little Joe, Ryno don't have to take a second seat to anybody that's ever played second base." And I mean that. And then Joe said, "Well, I never see him with his uniform dirty." I said, "Really? That's because he was in front of everything." He invented kind of that one-hop throw off the turf to first base. But you got to realize they're different type of Hall of Fame players. You can't bottle, everybody up from, Ozzie Smith, who was more defensively. I don't understand why Gary Maddox is never mentioned there with all the gold gloves that he has. But there's different ways, and this is why it's more of a team. Guys do different things to show how valuable they are for the team. Most important thing is to win. And Ryno wanted to do that. Joe Morgan wanted to do that and proved it. 2-time MVP. And by the way, he might have been 5'6".
Yeah.
Totally. But what a tremendous player. Both of them are. And I feel honored to have played with both of them. In particularly, just a special friend of mine and Ryne Sandberg.
So the game you're talking about in Chicago, it's known as the Sandberg game. He ties the game twice in the 9th and 10th, right, on home runs. You guys win it in the 11th. Now, I look back, you guys were 37 and 31. Cubs take off after that, wind up making the playoffs, first time in the postseason since 1945. This is 1984. Can you describe, I think for Phillies fans who might not know, what the 84 Cubs meant to that franchise, to Chicago, and Ryno as the MVP of the league in 84, and really kind of the best player on that team, how he kind of cemented himself in Chicago baseball history with that season?
Well, I think really that 84 club resurrected Cub fans all over the country. I know it would prove it out in Chicago because if you look to see what they drew prior to 84 and then 84 and after, they were all kind of sellout crowds.
Yeah.
Jody Davis, and most importantly, the pitching that we had with Sutcliffe and Dennis Eckersley, Steve Trout. It was just tremendous. I mean, catching the city by storm. I can honestly say that year in 84, thank you, Cub fans. I never paid for dinner that whole summer. That's how much they loved. They were and treated the guys. That not just me, but all of the guys here. They were so appreciative because they had never ever, won before, and then to be able to win in '84, and bittersweet. Obviously, not winning the games in San Diego, but to get there in the fashion that we did, really excited the baseball world. And it was tremendous. One game from being into the World Series. And, I just call it the way it is. We choked. Needed one game out of three to beat San Diego, and they swept us there. As you know, Steve Garvey really showing off. But the fact is that it didn't tarnish what we did that year and what we accomplished. Would have been heroes, those Cub players, if we had gone to the World Series. And I can guarantee you it would have been a better showing than the Padres there in Detroit.
Yeah. Let me take you back because you were with the Phillies when Ryno made his debut in September of 81. You were there the night he got his first hit as a pinch hitter for Schmitty, believe it or not, in a blowout game. He comes up, pinch hits, gets a hit. And then, after that season's over, he and Larry Bowa get traded over to the Cubs, and Ryno's kind of like the throw-in that deal, right? That was how it was presented at the time.
Sure.
I wonder what you remember about Ryno the rookie kind of coming up there at the end of 81. And, like when you looked at it, did you kind of see it? Like, could you sort of see like this kid's going to be something, or was that too early to really know?
Way too early, because back then, remember, Scott, we were trying to fight to be able to get in the playoffs World Series. Right. So I think at that time, Ivan De Jesus was our shortstop, so we weren't caring about
he came over in the trade,
other leagues. Yeah, and you're right. He was actually a throw-in, not really a throw-in, because guess what? Dallas Green knew the organization, and particularly the minor leagues, better than anyone.
Yeah,
and he knew Dallas could read players, and he went out and assembled a team and that he thought that could win. The one thing back then that Dallas wanted really a lot of power, and deservingly so because of the deals he made and what happened there on the field.
Yeah. I mean, look, think of all the Phillies Cubs interconnected, because you get traded over there at the end of spring in '84. You and Bob Dernier. Right, so you've got yourself, Dernier, Bo is already there, Sandberg's already there, Dallas is there. There were so many.
Keith Moreland,
Warren Brewster, right? There were others. I'm leaving some guys out here. Dick Ruthven, I think, was there. Like, there was so much kind of interconnectedness between those two organizations at that time, too. You go over there in 84, and, you must have felt almost at home right away, right? Given the fact that there were so many guys that you were familiar with.
Well, I did feel at home, but, I've been traded before. So once you're in the lineup, you'll always feel at home. But they had not won a lot of games in spring training. They really were considered like the bad news Bears, if you will. I think they only won 2 or 3 games. And, we started off, and people don't realize that Bob Denier was ticketed to go to the minor leagues.
Right.
How
With the
about
Phillies.
this? Yeah, with the Phillies.
And then he ends up leading off for the Cubs, right? Bats in front of Ryno, you bat behind him.
Right.
And off you go.
And Bob Denier won the first Gold Glove for an outfielder back then.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So I know a little journalism there too, Scott, by the way. I can get involved with that. But again, it turned Bob Denier's career around there to win a Gold Glove. And the way that the team had played, he was a great leadoff hitter, really great center fielder. He jokes about covering the ground with me and left and Keith Moreland there in right field. It was just a special time for us there. Dallas really did assemble the club, and after he got Dennis Eckersley, it was, just about almost all over.
Yeah. Let me, you mentioned that Ryno was a bit of a prankster, a bit of a jokester. And It's funny you say this because whenever I think of Ryne Sandberg, I think a lot about Chase Utley as well. Same position, similar kind of players, similar styles. And one time back in the day, Aaron Rowan said to me, I wish you guys could see how funny Chase is. Like, you'll never see it because he'll never show you guys in the clubhouse. But Chase is the funniest guy on the team. And I said, no way, get out of here. And like, since Chase stopped playing, whenever we see him, like, his personality comes through. Tell me a little bit about Ryno the prankster, Ryno the jokester, and what was the best prank he ever pulled on you?
Well, let's hit that up. But let me just tell you, Chase Utley, he couldn't hold a candle to Ryno in the pranksters.
In the prankster category?
Oh, you could barely talk to Utley. You know that. Ain't going anywhere. Stealth, just like staring you down.
Yeah.
But Ryno,
for me and you, but apparently his teammates thought he was hilarious. Anyway,
well, whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, but Ryno would several times. I mean, he would actually, back in the day, we'd have those kind of chairs where there were directors' chairs, if you will, where they had the little sticks, and you could pull them out, but then you could put the seat back on it.
Oh, okay.
Well, every single day, this guy would go in, take the sticks out, and sure enough, I'm coming in, I'm getting my coffee, trying to get ready, and fall right down to the ground, and you could hear him over there laughing, going even to the washroom. And speaking of washroom, you could be in there, and he'd have that alcohol where he'd spray all the way down, and then he'd light it. You got a flame coming up there in the washroom. Okay. I mean, there's just so many different jokes. He would load up your cigarette to where when you took a puff, it'd blow up and you got all the stuff all over your suit. He thought that was funny. He loved to have fun, but most of all, he loved to win.
Yeah. 2 more quick ones, and then we'll let you get out of here because I know you got to run to another thing. You're in demand here this week. You are in demand. You're getting pulled every which way.
Yeah.
Every time I go to Wrigley now, I see the statue that they put up, and it's Ryno playing defense, and I think that's perfect, right? Because that's kind of how I think of him in my mind, in that defensive position at second base. You touched on it, 9 Gold Gloves, second to nobody at second base. I mean, when you remember Ryno, I mean, do you think of that, just the steadiness, the every day, and I mean, he never got his uniform dirty, like you said, because he was never out of position, right?
He could
never had to.
Yeah, read the hitter, read how the pitcher is pitching a particular hitter, whether it's up the middle, he'd end up catching it and so on, or even if it was in the hole. I mean, it was just it's hard to tell you how great the guy really was. Unassuming, didn't brag on himself, didn't want all the awards. He just liked being around his teammates, laughing and winning. Same way when I'm playing. The guy's a scratch golfer.
Yeah.
I mean, and we go out and play, and I go, okay, right on, man. How many strokes you giving up? He would tell you, I'm not giving you any strokes. You just play better. And I go like, oh, okay, like I got a chance playing better.
Yeah.
But again, and I like that because guess what, Scott? It will make you better when people aren't giving you things.
Yeah.
And I really do believe in that. But even on the course, he would never brag about, hey, I'm going to beat you this or that. He would hit some balls, however, and he'd ask you, as he hit the ball, hey, what do you think about that? How do you think that shot's going? He know it's going right by the green.
Yeah.
Okay, right by where the pin is.
Yeah.
Took a lot of pride in it. Treated people right consistently.
Yeah.
Had time for people. More so, he had principle. And if guys around him, no matter where he was, you don't have principle, you got a problem. Even in managing here.
Yeah.
He had problems with wanting to discipline certain players. Well, if you're not behind them, that means you don't want them here.
Right.
And it was a hard thing for him. People don't realize that. He's not a quitter.
Yeah.
But you got to be behind him. You got to stick behind him. Like, well, I don't know if that's a good analogy. I won't even say that, but you got to be around him. And I got to tell you, his wife, Margaret, has just been the rock there. She's really responsible for him coming out of his shell, laughing and talking, although he would really do that in the clubhouse.
Right. But publicly, yes.
Yeah. But Margaret brought him out of that, and what a hell of a lady.
Okay, let me get you out of here on this. You live in Chicago.
Yep.
So you see
in Atlanta. Oh, then. Yeah.
But you still see a lot of the Cubs, even now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Cubs Phillies. I mean, are we looking at a potential Cubs Phillies NLCS this year? What do you think?
Woo. I don't know. The way the teams really are going back and forth, Scott, the way that certain guys get hurt. I mean, even this club, we've seen them to be the best where you go like, man, these guys are unbeatable.
Yeah.
And then we've seen them where you go like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me, guys? I think really after August and kind of going into September, we'll have a clearer picture on all the different teams on where you're thinking that they're going to be. For a while, everybody thought, hey, the Yankees are running away with this. Guess what?
Might not make the playoffs, right?
Right. How about that? That's why I'm saying about the injuries can change your whole ball club to where all of a sudden now you're lost.
Right.
Without a doubt, if Aaron Judge is not on the Yankees, guess what?
Yeah, no chance.
Make your vacation plans.
Yeah. Yeah, they're good. Milwaukee's good. Obviously, the Dodgers, now the Padres loaded up at the trade deadline. I think it's going to be a real good finish in the National League.
Yeah, the Dodgers, too. The hardest thing to do is to win when you're supposed to win.
Mm.
Very difficult. Why? Because every team that faces you are coming with their A game. You as the team that has wanted, you don't always get up. That reminds me here in 81 when I came here.
Yeah.
I had just wanted an 80.
Yeah.
I was going there. I'm saying, hey, man, let's go.
Yeah.
Hey, you have a lull kind of after you've won the World Series. And your plan is hard, but it isn't an urgency the way it would be if you have never won it.
Right. Well, look, Sarge, this was so much fun. Like I said, I know you need to get somewhere, but it is always fun every time I get a chance to talk to you. And we got to make sure we don't wait as long next time before you and I sit down and chit-chat. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with us here at Phillies Extra from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Safe travels, and I'm sure we will see you in the postseason.
Hopefully so. How about the World Series?
How about that?
Let's
Wouldn't that
just
be
go
something?
there. It'll make John very happy.
There you go.
Okay.
I know you'll be here for that.
Oh,
so.
without a doubt.
All right. Thank you
Without
so
a doubt.
much.
Thank you, Scott.
Of course, I want to thank Gary Matthews again for joining me this week. Let's get to our Reporter's Notebook segment. We aim to be as evergreen as possible, which isn't easy in baseball because there's a game almost every day. But when the Phillies come out on a Wednesday and say that their best pitcher had some shoulder soreness after his last start, and you have a show to do on a Friday, and that pitcher isn't scheduled to pitch again until Sunday, well, you've got to talk about it, right? So even though some of you might not listen to this until after Zach Wheeler makes that next start in Texas, we have to talk about what's going on. Because if there are questions about Wheeler's health, nothing else, not the configuration of the Phillies outfield or the excitement about their new closer, really matters. So Wheeler started on August 2nd, the Saturday afternoon matchup at home against Tigers ace Tarek Skubal. He gave up 4 runs, 3 of them earned on 9 hits, including 3 homers, and struck out 10 batters in 6 walk-free innings. He lobbied manager Rob Thompson to come out for the 7th, gave up a 2-run homer to Javier Baez, then was lifted at 98 pitches. A few days later, Wheeler mentioned to the training staff that he felt more soreness than usual. The Phillies ordered an MRI, which came back clean, as Rob Thompson put it. No sign of any structural damage. But this is Zach Wheeler. So to be extra cautious, the Phillies delayed his next start from Friday to Sunday in Texas, and Thompson said they'll push it back even further if necessary. Wheeler played catch before Wednesday's game. They'll see how he feels once they get to Texas. Now, since Wheeler signed with the Phillies in December 2019, he's thrown more innings than any pitcher in baseball. For that, he gives credit to head athletic trainer Paul Buchheit, who got hired by the Phillies 1 month before Wheeler arrived. They've become really close. Wheeler trusts Buchheit with everything related to his health. In August 2022, for example, Wheeler developed some forearm stiffness. The Phillies convinced him to go on the injured list to prevent it from becoming a full-blown problem. He missed about 3.5 weeks, made his last 2 regular season starts, then pitched brilliantly in the postseason all the way to Game 6 of the World Series. Thompson said the Phillies haven't talked about skipping Wheeler's next start and certainly not putting him on the IL. But with Aaron Nola getting closer to coming back from a rib fracture and Taijuan Walker pitching well lately, and amid a stretch of 39 games in 41 days, they could definitely move to a 6-man rotation for a few weeks to build in more rest for Wheeler, because there isn't a more indispensable player on the roster. The Phillies cannot win a World Series without Wheeler, and as we know, winning the World Series is all that matters at this point in the franchise's life cycle. Topic number 2. If anyone questioned how much the Phillies really needed a closer, the Joan Duran show should put any of that to rest. On the mound, Duran throws a 103-mile-per-hour fastball and a hybrid splitter sinker that he calls a splinker that clocks in at 98 to 99 miles an hour. He throws a curveball too, but we didn't see that in either of his first 2 appearances for the Phillies because, well, the fastball and splinker were so nasty, he didn't need a curveball. But the show starts even before Duran sets foot out of the bullpen. The ballpark lights go down, fans light up their phones, a club mix blares through the sound system, flames and animated tarantulas crawl across the scoreboard. Why tarantulas? Well, Duran has a spider tattoo, which begat his nickname, Durantula. It is a spectacle. And it has turned the 9th inning into, must-see events. Fans even started booing the other night after a home run in the 8th inning stretched out a lead so much that it removed the possibility of Duran pitching the 9th. Quite simply, the Phillies haven't had a closer this good or a 9th inning show like this since they traded away Jonathan Papelbon. And really, you have to go back even further than that to Brad Lidge, probably in 2010 or certainly 2008, his perfect season, to remember when the 9th inning was in such good hands. But here's the thing about a star closer. He's a factor only when you get him the lead. And if there's a concern about the Phillies down the stretch and in the playoffs, it's whether they will score enough runs to give Duran enough leads to nail down. Finally, last word about lefty reliever Jose Alvarado, who dropped in on the Phillies a few days ago and spoke with many of his teammates for the first time since he got hit with an 80-game suspension. Alvarado is sticking with his story that he took weight loss medication that he wasn't aware would trigger a positive test for exogenous testosterone, which is on MLB's list of banned substances. We still have a lot of unanswered questions about when and if he told the team what he was using. We'll probably never know all of the particulars. Here, though, are some facts. Alvarado had a 4.09 ERA in 66 games last season. He has a 2.70 ERA in 20 appearances this year before the suspension. The average velocity on his sinker went from 97.8 miles an hour last year to 99.3. The average velocity on his four-seam fastball went from 96.8 last year to 99.6. Alvarado is adamant that he did not receive an artificial boost in performance. Well, he'll have a chance to prove it and to convince the Phillies to pick up his $9 million club option for next season when he returns from the suspension on August 19th. But Alvarado isn't eligible to pitch in the postseason, so it'll be interesting to see how Rob Thomson deploys him down the stretch. On one hand, Alvarado at his best can help the Phillies win the NL East and get a bye in the wild card round of the playoffs. On the other, doesn't it make the most sense to give the highest leverage pre-ninth inning opportunities to, Orion Kerkering, Matt Strahm, David Robertson, Tanner Banks, and anyone else, maybe Jesus Luzardo, who's actually going to occupy a bullpen spot in the playoffs? As we usually say, stay tuned. It's time now for Hit and Run, where we take a question from you. A reminder to submit a question, reach out to me on email at slauber@inquirer.com or on the social media platform of your choice, X, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn, yada, yada, yada. I'm there. So many good questions this week, as usual. This one is from Dan May at Dan Mall on X, and he asks, if Alvarado doesn't get suspended and is pitching effectively as our closer the last few months, do you think the Phillies still trade for Duran? I don't believe they would have. Alvarado's suspension may have actually helped the Phils since it got us to go out and make that trade. Dan, I love this question. Have you seen the movie Sliding Doors? It basically explores how a person's life would be different if they take one path or another. In the case of the character in the movie, if she makes a train versus if she misses it. And I love applying that concept to sports. If a team signed one free agent or another, made one trade or another, how would its fortunes change? It can be fascinating to think about. So we'll never know, of course, how the Phillies would have approached the bullpen if they had Alvarado the whole time. I haven't posed that hypothetical to anyone in the organization, but I will say this. Based on conversations that I had in the offseason and during spring training, I think some Phillies people always figured that they would need bullpen help at the deadline. Because don't forget, they lost two relievers, Jeff Hoffman and Carlos Estevez, in free agency and replaced them with only one, Jordan Romano. It's not like Dave Dombrowski forgot that it takes 1 + 1 to equal 2. He also acquired a reliever at 3 of the last 4 deadlines, going back to 2021 with Ian Kennedy, 2022 with David Robertson, and last year with Estevez. I think they thought, okay, we'll get through the first half of the season with what we have, Romano, Alvarado, Kerkering, Strahm, Banks, and we'll add another reliever in July if we need to. Now, would it have been an A-list closer like Duran? Maybe, maybe not. I have no idea. But there were people in the organization, even before the suspension, who thought Alvarado was best suited as a setup man, not a closer. So yes, it's possible they still would have explored a trade for Duran, even if they had Alvarado. But, Dan, here's a sliding door on top of your sliding door. What if Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase never gets placed on administrative leave as part of the investigation into sports betting? Or what if that happens after the trade deadline instead of 4 days before it? In that case, there would have been a third A-list closer on the market besides Duran and Mason Miller. Do the Twins get the same offers for Duran that they got with Clase unavailable? If they can't get 2 top 100 prospects like they did from the Phillies with Mick Abel and Eduardo Tait, maybe they decide to just keep Duran, at least until the offseason. Just something else to think about. All right, let's leave it there for this week. and tell you that all 26 episodes of Phillies Extra are available by going to Inquirer.com and clicking on the Inquirer Live tab, or on the Inquirer's YouTube page, or on Facebook. You can also listen to this episode and many others. Take it wherever you go, beginning with our Bryce Harper interview on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. While you're there, please follow and rate and review us. We want to hear from you. Thanks again to my guest, former Phillies outfielder and broadcaster Gary Matthews. Thanks also to our producer, Angelica Irizarry, for making sure this show looks and sounds good every week. And most of all, thanks so much to all of you out there for listening, watching, and of course for reading the Philadelphia Inquirer.